Let's see, Mr. Tench, let's start with you. In comments filed in response to the AI Action Plan, RFI, issued by the White House, Vantage noted its development of an on-site utility-scale gas power plant in Virginia to power a data center in that region. Can you explain why Vantage decided to use gas for that on-site generation?
Well, the shortest answer is that we were left no choice. The planning cycles for our data center developments can sometimes span multiple years. And in this particular case, we were subject to a change in the demand algorithm from the local utility. It had been planning on having allocated to us 100 megawatts or MVA worth of power to power our data center project there in Loudoun County, when suddenly, after we were under construction, we were told that power was no longer available and would not be available for 5 to 7 years, at which point we had already committed hundreds of millions of dollars into the development project. So in this particular case, we were fortunate in the fact that our property sat on top of a high-volume, high-pressure natural gas line, and we scrambled, we designed, built, and commissioned a power plant operating completely independent of the grid within 18 months, and that data center is up and running with a very important customer of ours today.
Great, and I assume you didn't go with others for various reasons. Nuclear would have taken too long. Why not wind and solar?
Well, in this particular case, our option was only to be able to develop a power solution for that site that was not grid dependent at all.
Gotcha.
And that was the choice we made. People may refer to that as island mode, but it effectively has no connection to the public grid.
Right, but wind and solar wouldn't provide continuous.
Not in that particular case. It's the parcel was only big enough to handle a turbine plant, and there would have been no way to bring in wind and solar in that particular case.
Gotcha. Mr. Huntsman, in testimony that you provided, I believe last year to the Senate Finance Committee, you argued that affordable, abundant, reliable energy is foundational to American manufacturing dominance. America has abundant resources like coal, gas, geothermal, in some cases hydroelectric. We also have expertise to build advanced nuclear, which I'm optimistic about as far as it becoming commercially viable in the coming years, assuming we can overcome the regulatory hurdles, which we're anxiously trying to do. Now, there have been some anti-growth forces, including environmental NGOs, that have helped capture many of our Fortune 500 companies. In some cases, big energy companies, in other cases, big tech companies, to endorse a net zero framework. Now, I believe a lot of corporate leaders know that such goals and commitments are impossible to achieve, not to mention they're harmful to the many of the very industries they represent. Can you elaborate on how these sustainability commitments harm energy affordability and reliability?
Well, so many of these commitments have a longer-term objective. We're going to be carbon-free by 2050 and so forth. You'd be shocked at the number of CEOs I've spoken to that have said, I don't have to worry about that. I won't be around. I can make the commitment today, but I'm not going to be around then. There is no viable path when you look at, on a global basis, when you look at just replacing hydrocarbons with renewables. Again, renewables have a very important role to play in certain areas, in certain fields. We make the raw materials that go into the wind blades and solar panels and so forth. I'm not anti any of that. I want to be very clear on that. But as far as they're reliable, the reason why you're building gas turbines is because you don't have the reliability. Nobody knows a week from today if wind turbines are going to be turning or not. Nobody knows exactly how much power you're going to be getting out of solar panels a week from today. They can tell you what you're going to be getting out of a gas turbine. So I'm more concerned about the today and how we get to the issues of today and how we get to the issues over the next 5 or 10 years, because that'll dictate where we are in 2040 and 2050. And coming up with unrealistic goals that we just hope that eventually we'll come up with some means or some mechanism, just as it's not plausible and it's not realistic. That's what we're seeing in Europe.
So they've got their place, certainly, and there are good things that can be accomplished with those. But some of those areas, including those areas that are growing fastest within our economy, things like AI data centers, you can't really rely on that because it doesn't provide baseload power. What would happen if you tried to do that, whether it's manufacturing or an AI data center that needs consistent baseload power? What would happen if you had to rely on something that's intermittent?
Well, you're shutting down. And facilities like ours, if they go down unexpectedly, they can take as long as 30 days to restart, costing tens of millions of dollars. So unexpected shutdowns, that's why I mentioned, I think, 4 or 5 times in my oral testimony here, the word reliability.
Right.
And that's very key here.
Right. And some of the emerging nuclear technologies certainly hold a lot of promise in that area, offering zero emissions alternatives. Those are coming, not yet here, in a way that's commercially deployable. Okay, my time's expired. We'll go to Senator Heinrich.